bipartisan support the Senate committee, you'd vote yes on it.
I would vote yes on the Senate appropriations bill because we have an obligation and now an opportunity to pay our military in a lawful way instead of just moving funds from one account to another as President Trump is doing. But this military appropriations bill, even if we pass it, still has to go through the House, which is out of town and out of touch. And on the basic issue of health care, the clock is ticking. People are rising up in red states as well as blue, and 3/4 of everyone affected by the failure to extend the health care tax credits live in red states represented by my Republican colleagues.
Senator, if you got a 1-year extension of Obamacare subsidies, would that be enough, a vote on that? Would that be enough to vote yes on the CR?
I wouldn't rule it out, but I think it needs to be longer than 1 year because we're going to be in the same situation a year from now with a Speaker of the House who refers to these Affordable Care Act healthcare tax credits as a boondoggle. If the Speaker of the House regards it as a boondoggle and the Vice President is saying that it's a source of waste and fraud, we should confront this issue right now and extend it for more than 1 year. So that would be my preference.
And they're not going to do that, so this government's going to be shut down for a long time.
I think we need to negotiate. That's the whole
But they won't.
reason we need to come together.
Leader Thune, in an interview
And
this
they are saying right now they won't negotiate, but that position is unsustainable. It's untenable in a democracy for one side to say our way or the highway. That's just not the way our democracy
But
works.
Leader Thune seems to be presenting an opening here, suggesting once again that he may be willing to allow a vote on ACA subsidies if Democrats agree to reopen the government. I mean, do you take him at his word? Do you trust his word?
I trust no Republican's word as long as Donald Trump is saying that he refuses to extend the health care tax subsidies, and the Speaker of the House says it's a boondoggle. That reflects what is in their hearts and minds. And Donald Trump has shown through his rescissions and impoundment that there is no reason to trust him. And as much as I respect Leader Thune, he can't vouch for the House or the White House.
But your reaction to the CIA going to Venezuela?
This potential for undeclared war is deeply troubling. We ought to learn from the Bay of Pigs, the Contras with Nicaragua under Kennedy and Reagan, that small wars have a way of going awry, costing lives and dollars for our nation. So these kinds of covert mini-wars need to be examined very closely and need to be investigated by Congress. We need congressional scrutiny and oversight here. And interdicting the boats carrying drugs, absolutely right. We need to embolden and strengthen the Southern Command through the Coast Guard, interdicting, arresting, using the legal process, but simply bombing potential adversaries on land and starting wars that may spiral out of control ought to be deeply alarming to the American public and ought to be investigated by Congress under the War Powers Act.
Zohran Mamdani went on Fox News yesterday and he refused to say, when given multiple opportunities, that Hamas should be disarmed. Is having someone like him in a high-profile position like New York City mayor, is that going to be a problem for Democrats trying to win national elections next year?
We need to focus on what should happen in the Middle East. Hamas must be disarmed. They must provide the remains of the deceased hostages. They must agree to a transitional international force excluding Hamas. The path is clear to the second phase, but Hamas has to be cajoled and persuaded that laying down their arms is an absolute must right now. And I'm very alarmed by what's happening in the Middle East with the rogue and renegade bands of armed, apparent Hamas warriors inflicting cruelty and potentially taking over parts of Gaza. And we need to have the kind of continual attention that the President has shown to implementing the second phase of the ceasefire.
Do you support Mamdani? Do you support Mamdani? Do you support Mamdani?
I haven't endorsed them.
Senator, the Justice Department might indict John Bolton later this afternoon. Do you think it's a flimsy case?
I really haven't looked at the evidence, and the point here is that the evidence and the facts should be critical, not vengeance and vanity as appear to be the motives in the Tish James and James Comey prosecutions. The Bolton potential prosecution, all we know about it is that it may happen, could involve illegal possession of classified documents. I need to know more about what the facts and evidence are there. But plainly, clearly, from what the president said yesterday, he is targeting political adversaries. He is using the justice process to go after people he doesn't like or regards as opponents. And that is a potential degrading of our criminal justice process that ought to concern every American. Today it's James Comey, tomorrow it could be you. As long as the president feels he's unconstrained in going after his rivals and using the power of grand juries and prosecutors in a way that suits his personal whims, we are all at risk, and we are in an authoritarian state. But the individual cases have to be examined one by one.
The Trump
Senator,
administration is replacing some career IRS officials with their own people, specifically in the Criminal Investigative Unit, and they're coming up with a list of Democratic donors who they potentially want to target. What do you make of that?